Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. So, I just had to come on for a second time today, and hopefully, this video uploads relatively quickly. I have been focused on my day job, I have been focused on my responsibilities, and so then I came back and I jumped into my notes from you guys, my messages that come out, the responses, and everything. And so this will be right after, if we talk, this will be right after we talked today. And so this is this question that has come up, and no kidding, 4 of our conversations were about, should I reach out? And not only that, but it's been showing up in recent readings, and people that have been in, have been out of communication. They have been in no communication for months, even years, are feeling this strong sense to reach out here in the last day or so. And I was going to put it on my list of readings to do, but I'm like, no, I've got to do this today. I've just got to jump in there. So we're going to get some messages around reaching out. We've had some conversations about it. So, those are probably more personal, specific conversations. This is going to be a general reading for the collective. So we'll see what comes out. Like all of them, they won't necessarily resonate with everybody, but they shouldn't, because it's going to be for folks who fit within this collective. So if you get in here and you realize this is your story, then you might want to look at some of the other readings. They've all been very much connected, and this is just very spur of the moment. This is going to be one of the soulmate snapshots. So we're going to jump in, and the first thing that we're going to ask is kind of what is happening to all of a sudden cause this feeling of this need to reach out. And then we're going to ask about what you should be doing. Should you reach out? And where should your focus be? So we're going to just have kind of 2 piles this time. So again, we're going to start with what is happening in this energy that's maybe causing this. We've been seeing it in dreams. Some of us, it's just gotten very intense these last couple days, and I am so sorry. I said to one person, I hope things start to mellow out and get calmer for you. And they came back and they were like, yeah, that's that's not the experience at all that I'm having. If anything, the energy has started to ramp up. And um, I feel it. I definitely feel it. I don't talk about my own situation too often, but it's definitely there. So we've got the Empress. Oh, okay. So all right, this is something that kind of has been coming out in some of the personal readings too. But this is so all of this progress that's been happening. We know that there's been some progress that has been occurring definitely on your end. You're aware of that, but it's been happening for them as well, for your person. And so they're feeling like they're reaching out to you emotionally from a spiritual perspective. So some of you are able to identify that, and I know that for a fact. Some of you are able to say, "Oh, yes, this is my person's energy, and I'm feeling it a little bit more strongly. Oh, and by the way, I feel like I want to reach out to them." Well, in some cases, they're feeling like they want to reach out to you as well. They're feeling like they might want to see if they're far enough along, which matches with some of the conversations that we've had, and some of the readings that I've seen here in the last couple of days. So I've been doing a lot of personal readings lately, and so it's easier for me to see not just what's happening with the collective, but also some of you within the collective, and then also others who just kind of stumble upon my website from other places. So there's a decision that's not being made. It's not ready to be made yet. There's that day-to-day balance is completely has been disrupted for some reason. Something has upset the apple cart. Something has changed things around, but it's not time to make this decision yet. I'm glad we're getting this energetic backdrop before we jump into the question. We've got the King of Cups, the King of Chalices. It's that water energy. It's in reverse. And it's talking about, in this case, it's a lack of integrity, but it's an apparent lack of integrity. What it really is freezing up. It's this sense of freezing up because of an awkward sense or an awkward feeling like you can't do what needs to be done, and yet this super desire to jump out and be springtime about it. Do something that's different. Do something that maybe you haven't done in a while. No, I think I could be successful. Things have changed. I feel the winds of change. Those aren't the winds of change. That, I mean, it is, but it's not necessarily getting you all the way to that place where things are going to be fixed. But I think we know that. So we've had that conversation in some of these readings, personal readings in particular, where you know that the person isn't necessarily going to be all the way healed. You won't be either. And that's not even surprising. We know that it takes a long time to get to that point. In some cases, you're talking about it taking a lifetime. And so it's not surprising that when you do come together, it's going to be before all of the healing is done. But the degree to which it is not done matters. This Two of Swords popping out fairly immediately for us is telling me that it may be a little too soon to expect much in the way of success, but you could expect something in the way of communication. It might be more lighthearted than it would ordinarily be. Like you catch somebody at the right time, and all of a sudden it's a decent conversation, but it still tapers off to nothing very quickly and leaves you basically where you started. So, what I worry about, and I've mentioned this to a couple of you, is hitting that reset button on your healing. And in some cases, that won't be true because you're not the same person that you were the first time that things started to go, no communication between the two of you. However, you have to make the decision where you are. There's definitely this sense of we could do it. We could do it. Everything could be pretty copacetic. That is between the two of you. It's part of the reason why it has felt like it was falling into place. There's even this. Okay, so remember I mentioned dreams, and it's been relevant for more than a couple of us. But this is about reaching in deep for what are the things that you need to understand. What are those pieces of wisdom that you need to be able to bring forward? And it's not just wisdom. Okay, so part of it is what comes with this Empress card. It's actual development. It's actual healing. So the wisdom is part of the healing, but another part of the healing is going to be it's going to be the part where when your person comes forward and has that communication with you, or you have that communication with them, whether you reach out to them now or whether you wait, it's about whether you're going to be able to handle what happens as a result. How triggered are you going to be? And the answer, is going to vary across time and across people. And it's something that wow, I guess you're really going to want to consider it because there's so much energy here. Even if it's not you that reaches out, there's the potential for communication coming from your person because this energy is coming from your person. Okay. Wow. All right. So I've done a lot of talking about things not necessarily being all the way solved by the time. Wow. Okay. I'm seeing the cards as they come out. I have to look at them one at a time. Otherwise, they're blowing me away. Okay. So you see in these communications or in these readings that I've done where I've talked about you don't always have to have all the answers. You're not going to have everything in line. We get that. This is that confidence and that feeling of emotional independence and stability that would get you through, even if you were met with a complete rejection. Okay. And here is the sense of the communication itself. So pages bring communications, and this is a heartfelt communication. There is an implied or maybe even a real apology in here. And my question is, how close does that come to getting out? Because with this strength card here, this is strength winning over fears. And this is just what's in the energy between you. So we haven't asked the question yet about whether or not the two of you, whether you should be reaching out or how you should be behaving. Um, there's a lot of passion, a lot of desire to do it though, and it's not just coming from you. That's part of why it's been so outrageously strong these last couple of days for so many people. It's not just you. You're not the only one thinking it, and the thoughts have been obsessive level with your person. So, all right, let's get you a little guidance and answer the question. So, is it yes, you should be thinking about jumping in and coming forward, or is it maybe you want to definitely consider not doing that. And I don't know what's going to come out. I know with the conversations that I've had with the individuals, it's usually come down to what makes the most sense for you. How triggered are you going to be? The same questions we were asking over here. How triggered are you going to be, and what's going to happen if things don't work the way that the way that you want? Okay, so there's a new perspective that both of you have gained. This is the Hanged One, and this is the equivalent of the Hanged Man in the traditional tarot. And this is something that the universe helps you through learning, helps you to realize that there is something to learn, helps you through that process. You may be, we'll see what else comes out, because this is that sense of maybe you are far enough into your process that you could try reaching out, but I don't want to tell you to reach out and then have it be the wrong thing, especially not if the rest of these cards come out saying something a little different. All right, so perspective once again. So this is the tiny elephants card. This is the 10 of swords in reverse, talking about feelings of pain going away, but I'll get to that in just a second. This one is the tiny elephants card. So this is a 79 card tarot. This is a Prisma Visions deck. There are several of them. This is the one that I have, and they have an additional card. So, but this one has an additional card called Tiny Elephants. So instead of just the 22 cards of the major arcana and then the rest of the minor arcana, you have 23 cards of the major arcana, the last of which being the Tiny Elephants card. It's a little bit like a universe card, a little bit like in this case it's very much perspective. That's what the book will even tell you, but it's what comes from this card. It's the perspective of being able to pan back and say, now that I've had time to think about this, there's a lot of new perspective that's happened here, and this is even things having calmed down and pain having fallen away. So for those of you who are feeling like that's possible, that your pain has fallen away to the point where you could productively handle this, um, maybe it's not so daunting after all. I mean, it's definitely daunting, but maybe it's not as as wrong of an answer. I mean, but it all depends. It's how far have you made it in your healing? How much is this going to trigger you? How much is this going to set the reset button on your healing? So we've got the Five of Wands. This is a card of struggle and of wanting to stay relatively quiet. It's not necessarily a super productive card, though. So it's more a card of wanting to stay where you are because of a sense of fear. And it's not necessarily you that I'm getting this from, but you can look for it in yourself too. So basically, it is not making a change because that is much easier to do. So when you're trying to decide if you're going to make a decision about if you're going to reach out to somebody, for example, then you might say, I haven't talked to this person in a long time. Another couple days isn't going to change anything while I evaluate this. This is very true. This is very, very true. But if you're inclined to reach out to them, you may or may not allow that feeling to pass without absolutely moving forward. So I don't have wands out here for this. I have King of Pentacles here saying I've made the progress. I'm ready to go. I don't know if that's you or your person though, because the tricky bit is that if it's you and not your person, then you have to deal with how do you want to manage a situation where you've made some progress in healing, but perhaps they haven't made so much progress, or in some cases they've just begun on the journey. So that's definitely something you want to consider. And here's that King of Wands telling us, okay, it's very, very, oh, all right, all right, all right, all right. We're going to talk about all of these together. So these soulmate snapshots are supposed to be little short things, but it seems like there's no way I'm ever going to do one that's under 15 minutes. But I have to tell you what's going on here. So this is the King of Wands, the Star, and the Tower, all in reverse. Okay, and the King of Wands in reverse is about attempting to control a situation beyond the level that you should be influencing it. So it's not saying that's what's happening. It's saying evaluate whether you are looking to control and have, is this about impatience or is it about, no, it's the right time? Because there's been a delay in this union, which we've seen. We know that there's a good chance that, that there's there's going to be some time that's needed before things can really be successful. And with this tower that we're seeing here in reverse, this is a tower somebody isn't letting fall. The tower falls when the lightning hits the top of the mountain usually, and then everything starts to fall apart, and it's emotional destruction in a way, but it allows you to take those pieces and build something back up. However, if you know that you've got a choice in the matter for letting a tower fall, sometimes it's a lot easier just not to allow it to happen. So keep in mind that your person definitely has some things that they're not willing to change. We just saw that earlier today. We also know there's a delay in the changes that will allow things to be successful. So, not so much that the two of you can't communicate, just that there may be some time. And so, something that you definitely want to consider is, am I trying to control this situation, even though it might legitimately just not be ready to move forward? So, you owe yourself that opportunity, even if, like this King of Pentacles says, um, maybe you are ready, but maybe they are not. And if they are not, is it going to be so not ready that you take one look at it and go, whoa, I'm not doing this. I'm definitely not doing this. I mean, it's hard to say what you're going to decide when you see this, but there's, there's a lot for you to consider. It's a decision that you get to make, and it's not an easy decision to make, just like we see over here. So we've got the Six of Wands in reverse, just telling you, hey, there's going to be this is one that I just recently saw actually in a different reading, and it meant the same thing that it means here. So the Six of Wands in reverse is not necessarily in the upright. It talks about victory after a long battle, but in the reverse, it can talk about the battle simply not being over, and that's why you haven't won. This is very much the feeling that I'm getting here. There is a need, though, to evaluate the path. Make sure that you are still paying attention to the right things. Evaluate your path. I don't know how to put it any other way, because there is this feeling of overthinking that accompanies the energy of your person not allowing their tower to fall. You may have a tower you're not allowing to fall to. And we've seen some evidence of that. Usually it's the death card that comes out in reverse. Like you're not stopping something that you need to stop. In this case, it's a little bit different. You're moving toward a happy ending, and you're so close you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so it's really easy to say, oh, yes, let me just reach out and do that extra couple of steps. But the thing is, it may not be that your person is ready. So to sum it up, because that was a whole lot of evaluation, but not a whole lot of definite yes or no. To sum it up, the energy between the two of you, the reason that it's feeling so intense like this is because it's very much on both sides. There's a lot of desire to reach out, there's a lot of desire to set things right, but there's not necessarily a lot of balance inherent in the situation right now. There is, however, a new perspective, a lot of new perspective, and some confidence that no, this could go really well. This could go the way that we would want for it to go. We know there's a delay. We know that there's more work to be done. But this is where you get to evaluate where you are in the picture and say, all right, so what happens if I do? If you do reach out to your person and they reject you completely, like out of hand, are you how much are you going to have that abandonment, rejection trigger re-triggered, not just because it's happening, but because it's them doing it? That's something that you need to consider, because you owe that to yourself. Some of you are going to be far enough along that you're like, you know what? I've dealt with it before. I'm going to deal with it again, and it'll be fine. And others of you are hearing this and saying, you know what? You're right. I'm not sure that I'm truly ready for that yet. I'm going to maybe let it go, and I know that this will pass, this urge will pass, and I'll have the opportunity to reach out to them at a later date. So it could be more like that. You need to figure out where on that healing spectrum you are. But that's what these cards are even saying. It's really much more about just, you know, that the battle isn't over. You know that there are some very significant things that haven't been done. Things that, by the way, would be better done while in separation. However, chances are you reach out and they don't say anything, or you have a brief conversation that kind of peters out and goes nowhere because they're not ready. So you get to decide if you think you're okay with those things happening. But that is There, I wanted to go ahead and get this question out there because it was such a burning question on so many people's minds. And so let me know what you think. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. We're not doing an extended or anything. It's just a soulmate snapshot to kind of get this out here and see what's causing it, and maybe a little bit of guidance on what to do and where to go, because we've got so many people asking the question. So like I said, let me know what you think. If this is your story, you may want to go back and check some other videos, because it has been a fast moving and intense little story. And if it's yours, hop on, go ahead and subscribe and become part of this collective so we can be getting the messages together. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, and I wish you absolutely the best in all this.